showing you around the Museum of Science Fiction server, where I have been working for quite some years, for 5 years now, I guess. A lot of the server has been touched by me, but the things in particular that I've done for myself, made myself a nice little wildflower garden. This was the first room that I had, my base, as it were. I had a few more chests than I do now, but I quickly, this is a hotel, actually. So out here are other hotel rooms, access to the public mine. Here's the automated farms, and so on. So it was cozy, but I didn't have a lot of room. So I had to rebuild it. Where are my redstone torches? So I needed some private space. So I made a few concealed passages to place a better place to keep all my stuff, magic books, weapons. When I started, all of this was survival. I discovered that the admin who had his rooms next to me in the hotel had encased his rooms in obsidian and bedrock, which I couldn't do. But I was able to expand my underground storage space without anybody noticing. At least I never had any stuff stolen. And I made passages for myself in between spaces that other people had made. So for instance, here's a drop shaft that I made to have easy access into the mines, and plunge. So this is an area you can see there, mobs going from my mob spawner. At a medium level of the mines, I made a mob spawner. My original mob spawner was natural. It depended on the mobs being generated, so you could be anywhere in the area, and mobs would generate. When I became an admin here on this server, I made spawners for myself, so that the mob spawner was a more regular thing. And the mobs fall to this point, but then I wanted to move them over to a water elevator, warehouse, and sorting system, where the stuff comes up. There's an underground passageway that leads it using a water channel to this second glass tower, where it comes up to the top, it's brought up into the water, and then goes into the sorting system. So the sorting system itself is not terribly interesting, it's pretty standard, but I thought I would show you the build that I made. Now this build, there were, of course, farms before I joined the server, but I really upgraded them. Brought in a bunch of, I brought all the animals in and made new farms. Rebuilt everything was here so that it was clean and tidy. And I also extended the tree farms to include all of the varieties and to make them in safety. And I left a couple of additional paths open. And then, this one got remade by a guy who wanted his own private farm for whatever reason. Fine. And so that's one of my builds. This was all done again in survival. The warehouse and sorting system, that was all built in survival mode before I became an admin. Some of the lights and some of this stuff was constructed once I was an admin and had creative, the ability to operate as a creative. But before I did that, I obtained agreement from one of the founders of the server to take over his industrial area, and he had built a number of buildings over here. So there's my warehouse. Oh, and these gray buildings, they're a remnant of some of his industrial style construction. So I took over this area here. Once he didn't exactly leave the server, but he was doing less and less. So you can see some of my early redstone experiments down there, trying different ways to get doors and mine carts to work. And here is the industrial village that I took over and expanded, added the golems. And then this is my house, this is my palace. I asked for a space of, I guess was something like 80 by 80 at the time, and built some of the land, terraformed it, and then I started construction. I wanted it to be pretty awesome and to have a lot of space inside, decorating the top of it with trees. And again, all of this was built in survival mode. I actually flooded the ground. Like down here, I built a surrounding wall and flooded all of this interior area with water, so that if I fell off the scaffolding, I would land in water and wouldn't be killed. Then I did exactly the same thing for the first floor. None of the holes were here, I cut them all open later. Stairs weren't here. And again, for the upper level. And then for the glass dome, I cut, I constructed the outside and then climbed around on the outside, building it up one brick at a time until I was able to close it over at the top. And again, all of this was survival mode. I was quite pleased with the result. It was my first really big build from scratch in Minecraft. I've, of course, run a server for my family before this and done other things, but this is where I really got into it. And I need to be in creative mode because I see I've left a door open. I don't like to do that. So I was really into Redstone, rebel forces. I'm not going to bother showing you those two sections at the moment. So I built a cactus farm. I am actually responsible for a whole lot of construction in this underwater path. This is a good bit of my construction. And the other area I want to show you is the spires. So this is another player by the name of Confundo, the guy the founder, whose industrial area took over. When he was exploring, he found this section of really enormous extreme hills. They were bigger and wilder than either of us had ever seen on a server. And I took over this one spire as being my domain. And here you can see that we're at 207, altitude 207, just about parallel with the trees on the top of it. And those are the original trees I've just added. So I've built around what was already here. Added my own roller coaster ride. You can see the train track for that. The greenhouse, and so on. This water column was my first high-level access. I had a railway that connected to the rail system between the locations, but it took such a long time to get here. That's why we went with command blocks for the teleport command to get back and forth, really. But still, you can use the rails to get up and down and travel around. So that's my different spires and towers. Things marked red are Confundo's, things marked green are mine. There were a couple of other people building here, but they have left the server, so I took over their constructions and modified them a bit. And oops. So I hope I've got, oh my, shouldn't be stopping there. Hope I've got the switch set the right way, which I don't. Clotted. Uh-oh. So again, a little bit of private rail to allow me to bring materials from the village. Now this is a natural village. I added a whole bunch of buildings, the farms, decorated, lit it up, added, golems. Although I think I've seen one too many golems. I think the golems have grown themselves an additional one. So this is all my construction, viewing platform, waterway. That's what that is, a red marker showing a waterway. I constructed it all the way back to Mandalore, digging out where I had to. Over this way is a constructed village, because the biome was a more desert-like thing, the savanna, I guess you'd call it. My daughter and I went with acacia wood for all of the construction, and so that's her house there, and all of the villager huts were made out of acacia with suitable decorations and a few golems. The extent of it, the gist of what I try to do is I always try to blend in with the environment. So this village is enhanced from what it was originally, but not completely revised. And so this is my village rooms, potions, everything to make life interesting. Also, again, the buildings are enhanced, but still in the style to which they were. And yeah, that's how I like to do things. So the original base, all of the stuff I've built underground, the palace, the industrial complex rebuild. I'd show you the Borg cube that I made, but that doesn't really show my style. That was a project that I did for Confundo on his orders. So there you go.